Welcome to 'Tis the Soundtrack, the podcast dedicated to digging deep and bringing you the merriest of music all year long. I'm your host, Kevin Williams, and we have a very special episode today to celebrate a very special November 1st holiday. No, I'm not talking about Prime Meridian Day, or National Deep Fried Clams Day, or even World Vegan Day. While those are all wonderful holidays in their own rights, I'm talking about Christmas Podcast Day.
It's Christmas Podcast Day!
Christmas Podcast Day.
Hey!
Christmas Podcast Day, celebrated each November 1st, is a day when the Christmas podcast community gets together and releases somewhat synchronized episodes of their shows. Some years, there's a shared theme, like last year when it was Charles Dickens' classic A Christmas Carol. Other years, like this year, it's a do-your-own-thing affair. 'Tis the Soundtrack started back in February of this year, so this is my first Christmas Podcast Day. And since I was left to my own devices, naturally I waited till the absolute last minute to throw this episode together. I'm recording this episode Halloween morning before work, and I'll be editing it this evening while handing out candy to trick-or-treaters. Because we celebrate Halloween on October 31st. Yes, even when it falls on a Thursday. But communities moving Halloween to more convenient weekend dates is an irksome topic for another podcast.
You kids get off my lawn!
Christmas Podcast Day is kind of like a Whitman's Holiday Sampler. You get to listen to a whole mess of hosts cover an equally extensive list of topics, all in the Christmas orbit. Then, just when you think you're done, you realize that underneath that crinkly plastic tray is a second entire level with just as many podcasts as the first. And since I've kind of boxed myself, pun completely intended, into a corner with this metaphor, let me wrap it up by saying that you can head over to christmaspodcast.com and sample what everyone has contributed to our somewhat official holiday. And may everything you hear be just as sweet as biting into one of those mystery chocolates and realizing you hit the jackpot, which of course is dark chocolate buttercream. Unless you're one of those sadists whose love of orange cream is only rivaled by your love of watching the looks of revulsion on everyone else's face when they accidentally sink their teeth into one. I'm guessing you're the same person that roots for the mines in Minesweeper. So, what is 'Tis the Soundtrack doing for Christmas Podcast Day? Glad you asked. We're talking about one of my favorite topics, the music of holiday advertisements. And since we wanted to do something extra special for today's episode, we're going to look at a trio of songs from holiday advertisements that only exist within those advertisements. In some cases, an entire song was never produced, just enough to fill the background of a 30-second TV spot while a voiceover extols the virtues of holiday shopping. Which means, if you want to listen to any of these songs, you'll have to fire up YouTube and watch the actual adverts, voiceovers and all. Well, except for one, kind of, but we'll get to that later. The first song we're looking at today is an alternate version of My Patch by English artist Jim Noir, which was created for Target's 2007 holiday campaign, Christmas Countdown Calendar. The campaign featured multiple TV commercials, each panning over an advent calendar while the doors opened to reveal scenes like people partaking in holiday activities or kids playing with the hottest toys of the year, before ending with a simple Merry Christmas message. The song My Patch, which was released 2 years earlier, first as an EP of the same name, and then as the lead track on the debut Jim Noir album Tower of Love, has nothing to do with Christmas or the holiday season. For the Target campaign, a new version of the song was recorded, with the chorus changed from "If you ever step on my patch, I'll bring you down, I'll bring you down," to And who sang this new version? According to the Jim Noir Wikipedia page, this holiday version was performed by an unknown artist. And the Jim Noir bio on Universal Music's site adds even less clarity, just stating that My Patch was used in the campaign. I did find a forum discussion from back in November 2007 that attributed the vocals to a Chris Barron, which could possibly be Chris Barron of the Spin Doctors, or just as easily be another musician with the same name, or just be completely bad information, as I haven't been able to confirm it anywhere else. What I can say is that this version of the song has never appeared outside of the holiday adverts, and it's highly unlikely a full version was ever recorded in the first place, which is too bad. It's a bouncy, catchy little electric indie tune. For the next song we're exploring, we're going to turn the dial back one more year to 2006 and take a look at the commercials created for that year's perennial JCPenney Unwrap the Magic campaign. Unlike the year prior, where the JCP TV spots featured ELO's Livin' Thing, which you can hear about on episode 9 of this podcast, for 2006, JCPenney went an entirely different direction, smashing together Bing Crosby's iconic version of Here Comes Santa Claus, featuring the Andrews Sisters, with the Fatboy Slim track It's a Wonderful Night from his 2004 album Palookaville.
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus. Ride down Santa Claus Lane.
And the results were good. Like, really good. And people thought so back when the commercial originally dropped 18 years ago, too. While the original YouTube video from 2006 was purged some time ago, the comments were full of people asking if the song was going to be released. There was even a reply from one of the individuals who worked on the advert music. Their response, which has been preserved in an AdTunes forum post about the commercial, stated that they worked for iDig Music, the Chicago company tapped to produce the track. They created a minute plus of audio, from which 30 seconds were cut for the adverts. They also shared that Fatboy Slim's US representation reached back out to iDig Music afterwards to, in their words, blow the whole thing out into a full remix. The poster was encouraging folks who liked the song to email the label and management team asking for it. Unfortunately, a full remix was never produced, and it appears that iDig Music is no longer in business. But, unlike the Target version of my patch, this song's story didn't quite end with the commercial. Sort of. For new listeners, this is my ham-fisted callback to the beginning of the episode where I left the teaser. While iDig Music never produced a full remix, about 10 years ago, a Christmas saint by the name of Randall Bruder accepted the mission himself. Using the 30-second commercial spot as a blueprint, he punched out the mashup to a full 2 minutes. His track, titled Here Comes a Wonderful Night, is available on both SoundCloud and Bandcamp, and we've linked to both in the show notes.
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus.
And for our final song of the show, we're turning back to Target, but this time skipping ahead to 2021. That year, Target was running a year-long advertising campaign titled What We Value Most Shouldn't Cost More. During the summer, the campaign adverts featured the Black Pumas song, Colors, from the band's 2019 self-titled and debut studio album. For the campaign's holiday adverts, Target once again tapped Black Pumas, who, along with featured artist Sophia Reyes, recorded a cover of The Emotions' Best of My Love.
It's making room for all so that our world doesn't feel so small. It's when moments of light bring us closer than before and illuminate those we do it for.
And this version, or at least the bit of it you can hear behind the voiceover in the commercials, is fantastic. Like the other 2 songs we discussed tonight, this one has never been made available outside of the commercials, which completely blows my mind. You have a pair of rising artists who put out a slam dunk cover, and it doesn't appear anywhere, not as a single, not on any streaming services, nowhere. I even attempted to leverage AI to find the song for me. After a few failed attempts at crafting a prompt in Copilot, which thought I was trying to get it to download copyrighted material, I successfully asked if there was anywhere I could legally stream the song. And then I received a complete hallucination of a response, with the GoBot overlord telling me emphatically that the song was available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, YouTube Music, and Deezer. Only to then backtrack when I challenged it to produce a direct URL to any of the named sources, and instead it suggested that these are the types of services that the song would potentially be on at some point in maybe the future.
I'm possibly more or less not definitely rejecting the idea that in no way, with any amount of uncertainty, that I undeniably do or do not know where he should probably be.
Thanks, Robot. But from the information in Target's press release announcing the holiday adverts back in 2021, I do believe a full version of the song was recorded, and with the recentness of the adverts, there's a much better chance this one sees a full release sometime down the road. And while we wait to see if that's a present Santa delivers us this year, in the meantime, we can listen to the Black Pumas version of Christmas Will Really Be Christmas, a 2020 cover of the Lou Rawls original.
That's when the words Merry Christmas will be so much more sincere.
As always, I want to thank you for listening to 'Tis the Soundtrack. If you're a regular here, it's likely you're already familiar with the many other wonderful shows and hosts that make up the Christmas Podcast Network. But I still encourage you to check out all the Christmas Podcast Day episodes available at christmaspodcasts.com. A few new faces, or voices I suppose, like my own, have joined the Christmas podcast community this year, and it's a great way to find something new to help you keep that Christmas spirit going all year long. And if you're a new friend, and possibly found your way here via Christmas Podcast Day, well, welcome. I hope you enjoyed this episode and our look at some obscure songs from holiday adverts. As I said at the top, this is one of my favorite topics to cover, and this episode is a good example of the content and tone you'll find on 'Tis the Soundtrack. So to my friends, both new and old, this is Kevin Williams, saying cheers, and Merry Christmas Podcast Day.
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, riding down Santa Claus Lane.
Here comes Santa Claus,
Here comes Santa Claus,
right down Santa Claus Lane.
It's a wonderful night, you gotta take it from me. It's a wonderful night.
Here comes Santa Claus,
It's a wonderful night, you gotta shake it from me.
here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus.
right down Santa Claus Lane.
Break it on down.